In this next topic, we're going to be looking at vertical and horizontal lines and what slopes we will get from that. So let's start with these try these questions at the top of the page. So whenever you're dealing with a fraction that has some operations in it, we want to complete all the operations in the numerator separately from the denominator. So that's our first step. So we're going to start here by doing 3 minus 3, which is 0, and then the denominator 6 minus 2, which is 4. So now we have a fraction that says 0 over 4. Now this line of a fraction means divided by. So if you were to plug this into your calculator, you would put 0 divided by 4. And if you were to do that, you would get 0 as your answer. So if you divide 0 by any number, you're going to get 0 as your answer. Now let's look at the next one. We have 5 minus 6 in the numerator, which would give us -1. And then the denominator, we have 8 minus 8, which gives us 0. So now we have a number in the numerator and we're dividing by 0. So we have a number, -1, and we're dividing that by 0. Now, if you have a calculator near you, try this in your calculator because it will not work. It will give you an error message of some sort. So you cannot divide anything by 0. Dividing by 0 just doesn't work. It's undefined. So we're going to be using that concept in these next questions to do with slope. So Vicky is planning to build an above ground pool. The pool needs to be on level or horizontal land, meaning the pool needs to be on a flat surface like that. Where should Vicky build the pool? Well, what is the slope of each area of land in Vicky's cross-section plan of her yard? So they want us to find the slope of this line segment and this one over here. And they were nice and gave us the coordinate points at the end of each of those line segments. So let's start with area number 1. That's the one on the left. So if we were to find the slope of this line segment, we want to use that formula. Remember, whenever they give us coordinate points at the end of the line segments, we are to use this formula right here. So the first step to using this formula is to label your coordinates x1, y1, and x2, y2, just to make it easier for you to plug them into the equation. So I'm going to say that this one's x1 and this is y1, and then this is x2 and this is y2. Now that we have these labeled, we are going to plug them into these spots in the formula. So they were nice and already plugged in our y2 value, which is 0.2. Now y1 is 0.1, so we'll put that there. Then the x2 value is 8.3, and the x1 value is 2.3, which they gave us there. So now we're going to solve everything in the numerator first. So 0.2 minus 0.1 is 0.1. And then 8.3 minus 2.3 would be 6. So then if we do 0.1 divided by 6, we are going to get 0.016. Next, let's look at the slope of area 2. So that's this line segment on the right. So again, we're going to label our coordinates x1, y1, and x2, y2. So I'm going to go x1, y1, and x2, y2. And then I'm going to plug them into our formula. So they already plugged in y2 for us, which is 0.4. Then we have minus y1, which is also 0.4. And then x2 is 39.9. And x1 is 32.2. So now we're going to solve this. So 0.4 minus 0.4 is 0. And then 39.9 minus 32.2 is 7.7. So now we have 0 over 7.7, or in other words, 0 divided by 7.7. And if you were to put that in your calculator, you would get 0 as your final answer. So the slope of area number 2 is 0. And when a line has a slope of 0, that means that it is entirely horizontal. And it says that just off to the side over here. A horizontal line is a line with a slope of 0. So when we're looking at Vicky's situation of where she should build her pool, and she's looking for a horizontal land to do so, we want to pick the area with 0 slope, which would be area number 2. So Vicky should build an area 2. It has a slope of 0. And I'm just going to put, therefore, it's horizontal. Now, in the next example we're looking at, we're going to be looking at vertical lines. So a vertical line, as you can see off to the side, is a line with an undefined slope. And when a line has an undefined slope, that's when the denominator number, whoops, I'm just going to go here, when the denominator number is 0, as we saw in that try these questions at the top. So whenever that number on the bottom is 0, You can't divide anything by 0. Your calculator would give you an error. So that means the line or the slope would be undefined. So in this example, it says, this is a plan for Jean's new gazebo. How can she check whether the posts will be plumb? Plumb means exactly vertical. So we are seeing if the slope of that line that they give us in the diagram right here is undefined or not. So let's start off with our formula. Remember, the formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So let's start by labeling our points. We have x1, y1, and x2, y2. And it doesn't matter which points you label x1, y1. Like you could have labeled these ones down here, the number 1s, and then the ones on the top, the number 2s. You'll get the same answer either way. So then in their little blanks here, we're going to plug in these numbers. So y2 we got 0.5, and y1 we have 7.0. Now for x2 we have 2.0, and for x1 we also have 2.0. So then if we were to calculate this, 0.5 minus 7 would be minus 6.5, and then 2 minus 2 would be 0. So now we have a 0 on the bottom of our slope, or in the denominator. And if you were to try putting that in your calculator, which would be like negative 6.5 divided by 0, you would get an error. And therefore it is undefined. So the slope is undefined. And in part B, it says, are the supporting posts for the roof plumb? Explain. So remember, plumb means vertical. So we just found out that the slope is undefined. So yes, they are vertical. And I put that the slope is undefined and that there's a 0 in the denominator.